Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where in the world you're joining us from today. Welcome to our live stream on CDP Private Cloud. Today we're going to go through the latest release, that is CDP Private Cloud Base 7.1.8. My name is Vineeth, and I'm from Product Marketing for CDP Private Cloud. I'll be your co-host for today's session, along with Mark.
Hey everyone, Mark Shoney. I'm from Product Management. And Vineeth, you forgot to say where you're from. Come on, it's an extra special place.
I am coming to you from rainy today, Melbourne in Australia. What about yourself, Mark?
And I'm coming to you from Austin, Texas. Not so rainy, it's very bright today, but not as hot as it was this summer, so that's much better.
There you go. It'd actually be really great to see what where everyone else is based as well. So if you are tuning in and can hear us, why don't you drop us a comment in the chat, just letting us know what city you're in, what country you're in. We try to pick a time zone for this, or a time for this session to kind of be friendly to as many time zones as possible. So yeah, it'd be great to see how many people are tuning in from where.
Yeah, it'd be great to see. Are you tuning in from work or are you tuning in from home? Hopefully not while you're driving, right? That would be the worst.
Exactly. Stay safe. As exciting as our content is, stay safe. Cool. So let's do a quick overview of what we're going to cover today. Obviously, we're here to talk about 7.1.8, and a big focus of that will be just giving you a summary of what features are available today in 7.1.8. Now, Mark mentioned that he's from product management. What you may not have gathered is that he and his team were an integral part of delivering 7.1.8 as well. So we're in great hands today to navigate through the features. We're also going to have some special guests lined up today from product management and engineering, who will talk through a couple of the features that they actually worked on. So you'll get to see some of the brains trust of Cloudera in action today. Before we start, there is some quick housekeeping that we need to get through. So firstly, please ask any questions that you have or any comments that you want to make using the comments functionality of the platform you're in, whether it's YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter. If you drop us a comment there, it'll come through to us and we'll be able to respond to you.
Yeah, speaking of which, why don't you let us know what type of device you're tuning in on? Because we try to make these demos look good, but we always kind of cater towards the laptop. So let us know if you're watching on mobile. That'll help us out.
Yeah, absolutely. Please do. We're also going to have some additional resources for you today, and we'll share those via the comments as well. You'll see comments periodically coming through from us, from Cloudera, and they will give you links to some of these resources that we'd like you to check out as well. If you would like to have someone from Cloudera reach out to you to discuss anything at all, there's also a Contact Us page, which will also be linked to you, or you can reach out to any of us via LinkedIn, and we can engage with you there as well. And then lastly, stay till the end, because we have a prize that we'll do right at the end with a draw for one lucky winner.
I saw that. I'm surprised we have prizes. I would like a prize as well, but you know.
Yeah, I know.
We'll reserve that for the
I think you've got enough shirts as it is, Mark, so you don't need it.
Yeah, I know, right? We got to bring this one back. The date is new bacon.
I missed out on that one. I do want that one. Yeah, so just quickly to give you guys a sense of how we're going to do this, we are going to pick a prize at random based on your comments. So it's essentially going to be a raffle system. To be eligible for it, you need to ask a question or drop a comment in the chat. Notice how we've been priming you to comment up until now, and that's why, because we're trying to make sure you win. Our producer has chosen a random number in the background, and so let's say that's 40. It's not 40, but assuming it is, if you are the 40th comment in the stream, then basically you'll win. We'll pull through the data across, from YouTube, from LinkedIn, and from Twitter, all of the comments, and organize them by timestamp. I know it sounds like a data-heavy activity there, but I know a guy that works at a data company, so we've got this. Before we get started, one more question. Why don't you also drop in the chat maybe what version of CDP you're running today? If you're planning to migrate to 7.1.8, it'd be great to see if you're on an existing private cloud-based version, or if you're on one of the older platforms, CDH or HTTP. Drop us a line and let us know where you are today.
I don't know. I want everyone to start commenting on bringing back their favorite Cloudera shirt. I need to get the elemental one that you have, but like I said, bring back the David and bacon. Drop it in the comments.
Cool. So why don't we get started? Let's jump into the release. So 7.1.8 is here. It was released on the 30th of August of this year. It is a cumulative release that includes all the features of 7.1.7 Service Pack 1 and all previous releases of Private Cloud Base. It's marked as our first feature release since we released the LTS version earlier this year. So what does that mean? Well, for those of you who are unaware, 7.1.7 was designated our long-term supported version, or is designated our long-term supported version for CDP Private Cloud Base. And that is intended to offer customers a choice of being on a stable LTS platform where there's no expectation for you to upgrade immediately to the next version. You've got an extended period that you can be on that platform for. And what 7.1.8 brings is the innovation track, which brings you a version with new features and capabilities that you can assess if they're relevant for you and of interest to you, and you can jump to that version instead. Now, speaking of features, there's several new features that we're going to drill into today. 7.1.8, if we think about it in terms of themes, is really about enterprise readiness. It is there to improve various sort of elements of the platform across storage, data governance, security, resilience, all for the platform. And of course, there are new features and enhancements across the actual analytic capabilities of the platform as well. And lastly, this release promotes the adoption of CDP as well. So we've made a concerted effort to address as many of the blockers as possible that were preventing some of our customers moving to CDP. We've listened, we've heard what challenges are impacting you, and we have worked to unblock a large number of those in this release. There's many for us to cover, so we won't have a chance to go through all that today, but if that is of interest to you, please do reach out to us in any of the streams that are available, and we'll gladly provide more information as needed. Now, let us delve into the actual features for CDP Private Cloud Base 7.1.7. As a quick sort of like primer in terms of the themes again, 7.1.8 is focused on enterprise readiness, and it helps you to better manage your platform. It helps you to deliver business insights faster than ever before, and ultimately reduces the risk with an improved platform reliability and security shipped with this release as well. Now, Mark, you are very close to the delivery of 7.1.8, so why don't you step us through some of the improvements?
Yeah, absolutely. There are so many new features in 7.1.8, and I'm going to try to remember as many of them as I can. Luckily, I have some notes to get me through it, but I also brought in some friends that helped out from engineering and product management get this release out. There was quite a lot of folks that worked on this and did a great job of getting it out. So let's start with that first row there. Operational database. One thing that was done is on HBase, we rebased to 2.4. And additionally, we added multi-cluster client support. So what this allows you to do is if you have two HBase instances and one of those instances goes down, you can quickly switch over to the failover, to the backup, right, from the client side. And you can do that with minimal code changes. So that's really important for your high availability applications. And then without further ado, I want to go right into data warehousing because we do have David Dickman, the product manager for data warehousing here, and he's going to dive into the features much better than I can speak to them. And he can also show the product off a little bit as well. So why don't we go straight over to him?
Hi, and thank you for that. Let me just share What are my slides here? So I'm David Dickman. I'm a senior director here at Cloudera. I represent product management for the data warehouse, and I want to share some exciting things that we've done in data warehousing in the 7.1.8 release. We've done some great improvements around Hive. We've done some improvements around Impala. We've done some improvements to Hue and other components such as Kudu and others. And I want to highlight some of the things that we've done that are really around the themes of like bigger, better, faster, more, right? So in Hive, we've been focusing on Hive ACID table improvements, getting them to be able to be created faster, used faster, perform faster, and just generally give you better value overall. For performance, we're also doing things like lockless reads, which allow us to really use Hive in some of those data warehousing capacity where a lot of different people want to access the same data at the same time. We don't want to lock those folks out. We made some improvements to the Hive Warehouse connector that's being used in support of a lot of ways of getting data to flow in and out of the data warehouse. And to make administration better, we've documented the transactions and locks as system tables. So you now, as an administrator, have greater visibility to what's going on behind the scenes in the metadata when managing Hive environments. When we're talking about metadata, we've also made improvements to the Hive Metastore, making it faster and easier to work with. And we've put significant effort on the Hive Metastore performance updates themselves. Now, around Impala, we also recognize that getting performance is necessary. So we've made catalog improvements. And these are ways for us to be able to know where the data is at so we can go get it faster and still around that metadata theme. But we've also made some new features and improved the existing features of the command line interface. And this is a great way for folks that are building applications that integrate with Impala to be able to have more opportunities and better opportunities to do those integrations. In terms of making sure that Impala stays up to date with the latest specifications around SQL, we've updated the data description language and data manipulation language and functions capabilities in Impala so we can handle all of the different types of create and update, insert, update, modify table, alter table. All of these things are now supported in the Impala environment. One of the other things that we've done, and I'll be showing you this today, is support for multi-byte characters using UTF-8. So I'll show you how you can turn on and off UTF-8 support and what that happens to the data that's been inserted into those tables. When it comes to working with tables, along the same lines as what we've been doing with the Hive ACID improvements, we can now read-write those Hive ACID tables using Impala. So we can do Impala on read-write ACID tables, not just read-only, which is a great way for us to be able to use these two in lockstep. We've improved support for complex types. And where it comes to data moving fast into the data warehouse for real-time use cases and time series type data, we've improved the Kudu support with Impala. So Impala and Kudu are working hand in glove a lot better. And because everything is about enterprise security, we've made sure that these are all done in context with security enhancements, bringing us up to the latest specifications that your own InfoSec departments will be very happy to see. And we've also brought improvements to Hue. Hue is the way that we are able to work with these environments. It's how we do the administrative tasks. It's how we build out those what I like to call beautiful SQL statements. And one of the things that when you're building SQL statements, especially in a Hive capacity, we already have this available for Impala, is you want to be able to see what the queries are doing, see what they look like, see what the plans are, and find ways to optimize and improve your queries. These were features that were normally part of the Data Analytics Studio. These features are now fully first-class features in the Hue environment, and I'll be demonstrating those as well. We also want to modernize the infrastructure for supporting the latest environments that Hue is built upon, while also improving the administration features. We also are keeping up with the latest support for SQL environments that are out there. We now support Spark SQL for Spark 3 and the Phoenix SQL, among other dialects that have been improved in the latest versions of Hue. So that being said, let me just pop on over. And as I said, Hue is our window into the databases and the data warehouses that we're going to be working at here. And right now I'm connected to the Hive environment. So what we want to do is show how the Data Analytics Studio or DAS features are now part of the Hue environment. So I'm not running anything super complex, but I am running a couple of select statements. And when I fire off these select statements, I can go over here and look under jobs. And I can see all the different jobs that are running. And I can also see the specific queries that are running. And here's that query I just ran. If that query didn't execute in time and I was a little concerned about how it's running, I can select that query and I can stop it from running by using the kill feature. So I can even stop queries and manage my queries that may be running away, so I'm not consuming resources for things that I really am not that interested in. But let's take a look at an interesting query that I ran earlier. This one here, I have the query info, when it was started, when it ran, the applications, the DAG ID, the session ID, everything I need to know to identify this particular query. Visual Explain shows me how this query came about. And I see also along the timeline all the different stages that were used to execute this query. I can look at the query configuration, the details of the DAG info, the DAG flow itself, and get a nice graphical view of that. And by the way, when I look at any of these, when I have these kinds of textual information, I can also download this into a file that I can use with other analytics tools to do any further diagnosis and analysis that I may want. Here's my DAG swim lane, DAG counters, and DAG configurations. And this is really cool when I'm looking at one query. But one of the other things that we can do is I can compare two queries. By the way, here's the query that did not run. I'll give you a hint. I actually used the kill on it because I wanted to show that that was possible. But let's take these two queries. And now I'm going to use the compare feature. So here I see side by side the query that ran and the query that didn't. And I can see they were both structured exactly the same. They were started around the same time. But where things get interesting is when I start looking at the Visual Explain, again, I can see that side by side. The plan was basically the same, so no real differences there. But when I get into the timeline, I see some significant differences in how these two ran. When I look at the query configuration, I can hide equal values and focus on just what was different between them. In the query config, in the DAG info, the DAG flow, the DAG counters, I can hide equal values, the DAG configuration. Oh, and there are no differences here. If I unhide equal values, you see everything is still there. And this allows me to figure out what's different between the query that didn't run and the query that did, or the query that ran slow and the query that ran fast. And this allows me to hone in on optimizing my queries, as well as gives me that complete detail that I need to be able to understand everything that's going on in the jobs and the queries that I'm running. So these features that were part of the Data Analytics Studio are now fully integrated into our use of Hive. Now, the second thing I want to talk about is Impala. I wanted to demonstrate the UTF-8 support. So here you see I've created a table called UTF data, and I've inserted into it some Roman character type expressions, and I've also translated hello world using Google Translate, so I apologize if these are not exactly correct, into Chinese, Korean, and Japanese to show these multi-byte character sets being used in the data set. So if I select from UTF data, you see in the results that we're getting all of the data back. So this is everything that I inserted into that table. Looks good. Now, if I start with UTF mode set to false, this is the default configuration, and I do things like select length. If I look at the table, the results don't seem to make a whole lot of sense to me. We see hello world should be, about 11 characters. So, or, down here, we're getting the right number of characters. But when I look at this value here, we don't see 4 characters. We see significantly more. We don't see 8. We don't see 7. These aren't coming out right. And when I do something like selecting reverse, so attempting to reverse the strings, it gets even worse. So, the Roman characters, they're fine. But these double byte and multi-byte character sets are coming out significantly altered, not even the right characters, certainly not in the right order, and some things that do not make any sense. And we see something similar when we're working with substrings. So here I get substrings that are not meaningful. So UTF mode true to the rescue. If we set our UTF-8 mode to true, we now properly handle multi-byte character sets in our data sets correctly, starting with the selecting on length. Immediately, I'll see that I'm getting the correct number of characters on each of these, 4, 8, 7, 11. Everything is looking great. If I do reverses, you'll see, if you look carefully, these are reversing the strings that we see inserted above here. The reverses are working and the characters are correct. And if we select substrings, we're looking for the first 2 characters of any given string. we're getting the first 2 characters of any given string properly reported back from the database. So this is UTF mode working in Impala and all working through the new Q interface. So with that, I'll turn it back over to our hosts, and thank you for this opportunity to share what we're doing with Data Warehouse in 718 with you.
Thank you, David, for taking us through those enhancements on Hive, Impala, and you. I can see our data analysts loving the speed and simplicity that that brings. So yeah, thank you again for the demo and for building the capabilities. All right, Mark, let's pick up where we left off, shall we? What else have you packed into this release?
Yeah, thanks, David, again. So in typical live stream fashion, I skipped an entire section, which is stream processing. If I don't talk about it, the data in motion team will come after me. So let me make sure to circle back to that. In stream processing, many different enhancements were made. So we have multiple security enhancements to Kafka Connect, such as authorization for all Kafka Connect endpoints now. And also you can modify your authorization through Ranger, which is really great, simplifies things. Also added several source connectors such as the JMS, MQTT, JDBC, and HTTP connectors to there. And also there's a NiFi stateless connector for Kafka. You can also change consumer offsets in Streams Messaging Manager, SMM now, and Schema Registry supports JSON schemas, which makes me extremely happy. So now moving down to the second row, let's start with storage. So Ozone is a big thing for the 718 release. And that's going to help our customers that are reaching any kind of limitations with HDFS. Now, with that Ozone support, we're also adding some things that may be familiar to you, such as rebalancing nodes, right, with Ozone, something that you may have seen with HDFS. We also have erasure coding support, which will reduce the amount of storage that is being used rather than if you use a traditional replication method across your nodes. There's also Ozone S3 multi-tenancy support. So generally, Ozone would put all the S3 buckets under the same volume. And with the multi-tenancy support, you can now use different volumes for each S3 bucket. So you add more granularity to the access control for those buckets. We also have different bucket support types, the file system optimized and object store. So file system optimized looks more like traditional HDFS, whereas object store is going to look more like your S3. And with HDFS, we have multiple standby name node support. So before you can only have one standby, we've increased that. So now you have better high availability. Moving on to encryption, we've expanded the support for HSMs with Ranger KMS, which is great news. And then also, this is kind of a neat one that I like, Kudu TDE support. So when you used to share a node between Kudu and HDFS, you could either choose to encrypt your data on Kudu and then have to encrypt your data twice on HDFS, or you could leave Kudu unencrypted and you would have HDFS encrypted alone. But now, because Kudu can encrypt itself, right, and HDFS already has that encryption in there, you don't have to worry about redundant encryption. So I know I said a lot in that, but you should definitely look at the Kudu TDE support. It's a great thing if it's something that's been bothering you in the past. For platform, we have another great demo coming, but before we switch to there, I'll just talk about a few things. So we have new database and OS support, which is great. Also, Yarn dynamic scheduling. You can now have HDFS-less clusters, which means normally you would have to have HDFS right on every node, but now that we're decoupling things and we have Ozone coming in, you can now have CM running on nodes that don't have HDFS installed. One other great thing is the Cloudera Manager high availability, and we have someone from the Cloudera Manager engineering team who is going to show you how that works and explain it to you a little bit. So that should be pretty great. Let's bring him up.
Hi guys, this is Zhefei from Cloudera Manager team. So I'm a software engineer and I participate into developing the HA feature for CM. So in 718, Cloudera Manager formally supports high availability with an active passive mode. Active passive mode here means at any given time, there's always 2 CM servers running, and the primary server node will always handle all the incoming traffics. When a failover happens, the load balancer will distribute the traffic to the secondary node. Okay, and before let's dive into the demo, I want to mention several things that you might be curious of. So setting up a CMHA cluster is quite easy. It's just the same as before. You just need to set up 2 CM server nodes, except that we now require you to add a HA priority field into the JVM argument. So priority is picked up from the command line argument, with the leader being the one who has the lowest non-zero priority number. And you might also already have a single node CM server cluster. So migrating from a single node CM server cluster to CMHA cluster is also convenient. It's just basically the same as you create a CMHA cluster from scratch. So, okay, and now, as you can see, I have a CMHA cluster set up. If you go to the All Hosts tab, you can see we have 5 hosts there. The first host is the primary node. The second is the secondary node, and we are running HA proxy on the third node. And you can tell that from the URL that we are actually viewing. And now, if we go to the real HA proxy node, I can do a less HA proxy config and search for CM1. You can see we have 2 aliases here. One is CM1, which points to the first host. The other is CM2, which points to the second host with a backup keyword. This basically tells HA proxy that the second node is the secondary one, and the first is the primary one. So when the primary one is in a healthy state, the load balancer will always distribute traffic to the primary node. Now, if we take a look at the current HA proxy log, you can see that the HA proxy is actually sending all traffic to the CM server /CM1. Now let's SSH into the real primary node. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna restart Cloudera SCM server. This will do 2 things. One, it will first stop the Cloudera SCM service, and then it will bring it back. So there will probably be 1 minute or 2 minutes downtime. During that downtime, the primary node is not accessible. So let's click on enter. And you can see from the HA proxy log, it detects that the CM1 node is done. So it began to route all the traffic to the secondary node. Now, if we go back to the CM UI, if we click on the Cloudera Manager icon, you can see that the UI is still accessible. Every CDP service is still running without any issues. Now, if we go to the Cloudera Manager service and then we click on Show Tests, there's actually a test called Cloudera Manager Server Cluster Availability Test. So this will keep querying those 2 servers. So eventually, this test will become red because CM Server 1 is now done. Okay. Now, while we are waiting for CM1 to be up, I think you might be curious about what has been changed on the cover so that we now support CMHA. So I think probably 2 main things that we've done. First is we introduced HA proxy, or whatever proxy that supports the passive active mode. And the second thing is that on the cover, there is a synchronizer running every 10 seconds that will insert and delete CM server entries so that each server knows who is leader, who is not. Okay, now you can see that HA proxy has detected CM server 1 is coming back. And with several consecutive health checks passed, we will be able to see that HA proxy will finally distribute the HTTP request back to CM1. This is what we call failback. So yeah, as you can see now, CM1 is beginning to handling all those traffics again. So if we go back to the CM web UI, you can see everything is still accessible, and you can still restart whatever service you want. Everything will just go smooth. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have about CMHA, and thank you so much. Hope you enjoy our new feature.
Great. Thank you so much for taking us through that demo, Shua. Great to see the investment that we're putting into the platform resilience side of things, which I've mentioned a few times today is one of the key themes of this release. I'm sure there are plenty more features that you were itching to show, and we limited you to just the one feature. So thank you again, Shua, for the demo, and for working on the resilience side of things of Cloudera Manager. All right, Mark, let's round out the feature summary for 7.1.8. What else have you got for us?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm going to speed run through this because we're going to run short on time. I don't want our last presenter to have to be pulled away. So on the policy side, we have a few things here that I'm going to mention. So the Ranger Resource Mapping Service now has DB level grants. That was something that was missing before, but we have now, which is great. We've also improved the mapping of solar policies into Ranger. That's something that we had those policies before in Sentry, but now you can migrate those over to Ranger. And we have a course URI check for the Hive plugin. So before, when you went to certain locations that had a lot of different files and folders, the scan that would happen would take quite a long time. So that course URI check will speed things up with the Hive plugin. With governance, we've added Atlas Schema Registry support. And then also we've improved the lineage that is captured from HDFS, which is great. For Replication Manager, we have a demo that is going to be done by Shiv Murthy, the product manager for that platform. And so let's make sure to head over to him before we run out of time here.
I have a feeling that Shiv is having a little trouble with the demo. Let's see if you can get it up. I know we were basically rolling the dice here with the demo gods running 3 live demos in one session.
Right?
So it was inevitable.
I thought
something was going to go wrong.
I took one hit missing the streaming icon before, so I was hoping let that be the thing.
Yeah, no, let's hope he can come online soon. But yeah, I mean, we got 2 out of 3 demos in, which is pretty good. While we wait to see if Shiv can get online,
yes,
Shiv are you back? Are you on, Shiv?
Yes.
Hey.
Yes, I'm on. And can you see my screen at this point?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, we can.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay. So what I'd like to do today is to demonstrate the Hive ACID replication capability that was released in 7.1.8. Sorry, was there a question? Is there a question? Okay, great. So what I've done here is set up an environment of 2 clusters. One, which is the production or the source cluster, and then a target cluster where we intend to replicate the database. Now, in the interest of time, what I have done is I'd like to start with the end in mind, which is we've actually taken a table called in a database called customers, and replicated that. And I'll show you the result, and then I'll show you how we got there so that we can go fairly quickly. So this is the table that is a Hive ACID table that we have replicated into this into this database. And so what I will do is confirm that that database is where it is. It's customers. We have that on the target. And now if we want to confirm that that table is indeed an ACID table, we know that if we go down and look at the transactional true, which is row number 17 here, that tells us this is an ACID table. Now let's go down one more step and see what's in that table. And if we looked at it, I've created a very, very simple list of 9 things here. These are just integers that I've populated. This could be any kind of accounts, anything at all that you wanted to do. So how did we do this? We have on the source cluster all these jobs and workloads running. And if we use the Hue tool, we can actually see that the customer's database is on it. And that database is indeed the exact same database that you saw replicated. So once we've confirmed that that is the database, those are the tables, and that's the kind of information we want replicated, we go to the target cluster, which is an identical cluster running different kinds of workloads. And once we are inside that cluster, we can actually set up replication policies. The replication policy that we use to create this asset table copy is seen here. If we go in here, we can see that we had created a couple of test policies, which we ran recently, and we can schedule them to run now. You can look at the history and the configuration, where we actually set a policy name, source, destination, a path, and then you can actually schedule it to run at whatever frequency you've decided is appropriate, whether it's every day, every hour, or even fractions of a minute, or and so on. And so once this policy has been set up, it can be run periodically or run on demand, which is done that way. So I'm just triggering a policy on demand. And then if you go into the running commands, you can actually see which policies are running. So you have complete visibility into how these replication jobs are running. So that's a quick overview of our asset table capability in 718. Back to you, Mark.
Great, thank you so much. That was awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thank you, Shiv. It was really, really good to see, I guess, the extended capabilities for Hive asset transactions, and just knowing that customers can now back up their high-performance transactional tables with asset guarantees using Replication Manager. Pop quiz for the audience, quickly. If you know what the D in asset stands for, drop us a line in the comments. Easy question, right? But you never know. That just might be the one that wins you the prize. Another subtle but important capability of this release is us enhancing our ability to replicate between public and private clouds. For customers planning on implementing a hybrid architecture, Cloudera's capability to replicate between public and private clouds would be absolutely invaluable. So thank you again to Shiv and team for building out that capability for us. All right, we are fast coming up on time, so let us quickly wrap up on what we've done today before we get to the prize. So today we gave you a lightning tour of what is available in CDP Private Cloud Base 718. Hopefully some of the key takeaways that you've been able to go away with are that 718 brings a host of new features focused primarily on enterprise readiness. And there's a lot of emphasis on resilience and high availability in this release. 718 also offers you the choice between a feature release and the long-term supported release of CDP Private Cloud Base. So what next? We would recommend that you go ahead and download our new ebook that showcases some of the use cases that you can run on CDP Private Cloud Base today. There will be a link in the comments with a direct link to that ebook, so you can go in and download it and have a read. Also, please check out the release details for 718 and see for yourself what's in the release. What we covered today is just the tip of the iceberg. There are so many more features in this release that you should get familiar with. Again, we've got a link in the comments to our release blog, so go check that out and follow the links onto the technical docs pages if you're interested. And lastly, if you need help, if you'd like to talk to somebody about how to migrate or what the right strategy is, we've got a number of options for you. Firstly, go check out the community site and the docs sites and see if there's anything from a self-service standpoint that you can get from there. Otherwise, reach out to your account teams. They're always more than happy to help out. Talk to your AEs or your CSMs. They will gladly have that discussion with you. If you are unaware of who your account team is or you're new, you can also contact us through the generic contact us page, which also is in the comments. And then lastly, as I mentioned earlier, feel free to reach out on LinkedIn to any of us that you've seen today in this session. Feel free to add us and ask us any questions, and we will do our best to help you, or at least put you in touch with somebody that can.
Also, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong on anything on my LinkedIn. The way, if I said anything wrong, reach out to me on there.
I think it's mostly around your shirt.
Right.
Alrighty, so we probably just have a few minutes. We're a bit over time, so we have a few minutes to address some questions that are coming through the comment feed. So maybe, I was going to say, is everyone on screen?
Yeah, so I can read them off here. So one question that came in is whether CMHA is available only in 7.1.8. And so CMHA is a feature that is available in Cloudera Manager 7.7.1, and therefore
7.1.7.
No, sorry, 7.7.1.
Oh, is that what you said? Oh, my bad.
Yeah, we have a lot of conflicting versions out there. So Cloudera Manager 7.7.1 specifically is where the CMHA feature is available, and so that feature sticks with the Cloudera Manager, not necessarily the runtime in 7.1.8. So if you're using 7.7.1, then you will have that HA available to you. Did I get that right, G?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Okay. And then let's go to our next question here. So Cloudera has both Hive and Impala for data warehouse workloads. Any guidance on when I should use one or the other? I think that's for you, David.
Sure. Yeah, so generally speaking, we've seen folks who are using Hive and Impala both to serve general purpose enterprise data warehouse. But what we've been doing at Cloudera since the merger of Hortonworks and Cloudera is we've been focusing on optimizing Hive around the kind of long-running transactions and the kind of transactions that fit very well into an ETL capacity. So what we've generally been saying is you're using Cloudera as a kind of ETL replacement into your environment. Hive is probably your best candidate there. But when it comes to enterprise data warehousing and ad hoc querying, this is where we've been optimizing Impala. And on both fronts, we've made significant improvements to both Hive and Impala for their respective tasks as ETL and EDW/BI. Now, that being said, it still is interesting to have you try your workloads in both engines and see which ones run them the most effectively when considering which engine is best for you. But generally speaking, this is where we have been optimizing and where we'll intend to continue to optimize moving forward.
Great, thank you.
Great. I've got a question here for Shiv, potentially. Can we replicate Hive tables on earlier versions?
Yes. So far, we've had the capability to replicate Hive external tables. Starting 7.1.8, we can now do Hive managed tables or asset tables, which is for all the high transactional workloads that David was just referring to.
Great. Thank you. Maybe we've got time for one last one. Let's go with the upgrade one. All right, it's a question here saying, can I upgrade from CDH 6.3 directly to CDP 7.1.8? Short answer is yes, but Mark, do you want to provide some details on that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So yes, you can. You can upgrade from CDH 6.2, 6.3, 6.3, 6.2, 6.1. Let me say it in order so it's easier to understand. And then also from HBP 3.1.5. So you can upgrade to 7.1.8 from all of those. And then, of course, from previous like CDP 7.1.7, for example. So we have a location in our docs. We'll explain all of that out and list all the different versions. So if you want more details around that, please look into the Cloudera docs. It's a great place to make sure you can verify all that kind of information about migrations.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's about all the time we're going to have for questions. But if there's anything that's really bugging you and you would like to learn more, as we said, reach out to us on any of the channels I mentioned earlier, and we will gladly try and answer your questions there. All right, and now for the moment that everyone's been waiting for.
Most important moment.
Most important moment. Let's pick our prize winner. So as mentioned, our producer has collated a full list of all of the comments, and we have decided that we are going to go with comment number 14 today. So let's have a look. The winner today is Rami Reddy Sankara. So congratulations. You are you're the winner of our, I believe it's a gift card that will enable you to access the Cloudera merch store and get shirts like what we're wearing. And many other things too. There's a whole bunch of stuff that's unnecessary, but awesome. So feel free to go and check out what's there. To claim your prize, please contact us or email us on social media at cloudera.com. That is also going to be in the comments, so you don't have to remember that or write that down. Yeah, email us. We'll just verify that it's you, and then we'll send over your prize.
Right. We need confetti next time to make it a little more exciting. Like a drum roll, confetti, the whole thing.
Yeah. Good suggestion. We'll incorporate that into the next one. Alrighty, I think we are out of time now. So thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And thank you for engaging and asking us your questions and adding your comments. We appreciate that. We hope you found this session useful. And we look forward to seeing many of you on 718 soon, hopefully. Thank you also to all the speakers today for taking us through the demos and representing 718. Appreciate it. So wherever you're joining us from today, we hope you have a great day, and we'll see you at the next one.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.